In business, everything takes twice as long and costs twice as much.
You're listening to the One Man Business Podcast, brought to you by Rod Fencing. Everything you need to know to run your own show.
Welcome to One Man Business Podcast. This is Rod Fencing. Today I have the VP and co-owner of UNITI Business Funding and also the founder of Vital Financial, Pablo Leites.
Hi, Rod. A pleasure to be here today with you.
Thank you, man. That's awesome. Well, we're going to talk about like a subject on entrepreneur's life. I think this is really common, both things, founding, secured loans, and debt. I think they are like just a couple that kind of like stays together with the entrepreneur and in our whole life. I mean, it's not bad to be on that, depending on how you invest in your money, but whatever. Let's talk about that. Let's go in deep and talk about what do you need to do if you are on debt, how to get rid of debt, or let's talk about a little bit of funding, secure loans, and how to, like boost your business with some kind of like capital. And well, first of all, thanks for coming, man. I want to know a little bit about how did you get in on the on this business?
All right, so thanks, Rod. Pleasure to be here with you. I love how you said it. They do come, they're almost like a couple that are married, debt and entrepreneurs, and they go very much hand in hand. And I guess a little bit about me. Yes, I started Vital Financial, in 2014, and I started the business because I did see the need for people to find resources on how to deal with debt. I was finding a lot of people were just falling into the hands of different experts. Well, they would call themselves experts, I guess, and they are experts. But just the approach was very much I call it almost inhumane. It was just a file versus talking to people. Like, this is Rod, this is Pablo. How are you? What's going on? And a lot of times I found that the reason they were in debt was just because something had happened in their lives. Either it was a medical thing that happened, or just business didn't go the way they expected. And
family growing, maybe sometimes.
Family
right?
growing,
yeah.
or just even a family member that got sick and they had to leave their work. And next thing you know, you're putting everything on a credit card, and then it's a catch-up game. It's a very difficult game to catch up on as well, right?
Yeah. Well, banks, they are big dragons, right? They are big monsters, not monsters, but they can help you. But of course, they want the profit. They like to, monetize on that. Mm-hmm. So, what do you recommend, man? Especially for credit card, I would say.
Sure.
If I'm an entrepreneur, someone is sick, or I invest in a vacation, or I invest in a new business, and I don't know, my time out, and my credit card is full, no room on my credit card.
Sure. Well, let's just begin by a few points you touched there. Number one is being an entrepreneur it's a lonely road. People we go out as entrepreneurs and we have a goal or a line of sight, and as you and I know, usually things don't go as fast as we expected, or they cost more than we expected. And also,
why not, Mama? Why not?
Well, it's that's just the way life is, right? And I think a lot of people don't plan for that. They think, I'm at A, I'm going to get to B by a certain time.
Over optimistic.
Exactly. We do a lot of financial modeling, and we got a whole section of doing business plans, and we always tell people, what the banks want to see is not the worst case scenario, but the very conservative scenario. Mm. They don't want to see the best plan scenario, because most likely you won't reach that. We know how it goes, right? But going back to your question is, as entrepreneurs, if we want to, we're trying to build a business, but we also want to have a life. We got children. You and I have children. We got a family. We want to be able to travel. You just came back from Brazil.
Yeah.
That's it's got to be paid somehow. And as entrepreneurs, cash flow is any business. Cash flow is the key thing here. So yes, we need credit to sort of float us through these times. And when it gets slower, a lot of times when we have an accounts receivable that doesn't get paid on time, then we've got to use credit for that, right? So it's all about the type of credit and how we use it. I think that's the key thing. I think as entrepreneurs, we think, the banks extend us credit cards, which is fine. We need credit cards, but it's an expensive way of financing our way through business, especially, right? If you've got a job and you're able to pay the credit card every week or every month, then that's not a big issue. But as entrepreneurs, using credit card debt to finance the business can be very difficult to get out of because it's expensive money, right?
Oh, I see. So that's not the best idea in terms of...
I mean, sometimes the best way is to try and get a line of credit, a business line of credit that will help us go through sort of the cycles of business. And you can get good rates on that. That's just the best way of doing that. And you can use your credit card, and you can potentially use the line of credit to pay down the credit card, because having a balance on a credit card is going to be very expensive. Usually they're around 15, 20%. You go up to 30% sometimes, depends on what it is, right? That's just not the right way of... It's very expensive money, right?
So how does it work if they are solopreneurs, they are like freelancers, and they want to have a line of credit? How does this process work? Is it possible to get?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes some banks will extend you, as soon as you open your bank account, with a business bank account, they will extend you a line of credit right away. Like, it depends a lot on your credit score. They will look at your personal side very much. So, do you have a good credit score? Do you have some assets? Do you have a home? It's a whole bunch of variables. So they will mitigate their risk and extend your line of credit. And the amount will vary greatly. Now, if it's a brand new business that's just starting up, it's going to be more difficult to get a line of credit.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Makes sense. So you may need a little bit of time, a little bit of history with your business, and then go approach the bank and be like, hey, I can show some income here, some revenue. Can you now extend me a line of credit, right? So it's a bit of a game to play with, and some people will have actually funds and savings that they will use to finance their business. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people do when getting into business is they go in not planning 6 months, 8 months of revenue, of cash flow that they need to float the business until it has...
And just survive.
Survive, exactly, yeah. And sometimes I always say, if you're thinking 6 months, it's going to be 12 months. In business, everything takes twice as long and costs twice as much. I keep saying this all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I always say, if you're starting out a business, double the time. Double the amount. Just
get ready for the worst scenario.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to tackle those problems with people, right? And I'm so happy that I'm doing a podcast. I don't have to look at people. You can listen to the podcast in your car. Nobody gonna worry about it.
Exactly. You got the privacy of your own either headphones or your car or whatever, right?
So if things are really bad with a person, what do you recommend? What's the first steps?
Yeah, so let's say that you just, something's happened, you've had to use your credit card, you've had to use your line of credit, and now, you're coming to the limits of all these different debts. You're at the point maybe you can't, even making the minimum payments is difficult, right?
Yeah.
So there's tools and there's legal avenues for people to use to protect them. This is consumer protection. It really is, right? And so it falls under the Insolvency Act. So there are everything we do on the debt side. When I started that business, I said, I'm not about creating contracts with people and hope that we're going to be able to help them, right? For me, it was all about how do we do this in a way that it's going to, solve the problem. How do we solve the problem legally, right?
That's a great motto.
Yeah, because I did find a few clients coming to me at the beginning, like, I did a contract with this other company, but I've been paying all these fees, but really my debt is still there. And we would actually have clients come to us that had negotiated these type of contracts, and then they had already paid thousands of dollars, and the problem was still there. They didn't
it's like transferring the debt. It's not like solving the problem.
Becoming even bigger because the actual the principal plus interest was still there, but they had already paid money into solving the issue, right? So the way we approach it is very much using the legal system. So we will look at consumer proposals, bankruptcies in some cases. I use trustees that I've been working for years that are very good, and that's the key thing, that it's about the service. As you know, money is a very delicate and emotional part.
Oh my God, yeah,
right? So for me, it's about how do we connect with the person? How does the person feel that I understand what they're going through, right? And how do I take them through the process? Because a lot of people are so afraid of, when they think of a bankruptcy or think of consumer proposal, they don't even know what it means. They don't even know that it's actually a really good tool they can use to get them out of trouble really fast. And it's a good way of drawing a line in the sand and starting over, right?
let's talk about the the boosting part of the business, capital.
Okay.
Well, this is a great conversation. I love to talk about that. Sure. And you are now the co-founder of UNITI Funding. And how is that experience going? Because you already had a lot of experience in that. I think it's perfect match, man. I was so happy for you when I heard about it.
Yeah, thanks. So it was born out of the debt side, because I did get quite a few clients where they just needed financing to boost them over the slow times or the difficult times. The reality is everybody looks for financing for two reasons. One is to get them through a tough time, or because they want to grow. Those are the two key things, right? If you're looking for financing to deal with a lot of bad debt, that can be a hard approach. So the UNITI Business Funding business is about growth. It really is, right? And so my partner and I, Spencer started the business, and we just partnered up in May. And we've been having great success. We've been mostly building relationships with the lenders. So we now have the big five banks on our side, which means they see us as an asset. So that means that what happens is people, when they need money, where do they go? Right? They go to the bank. That's the first starting point.
Not sure if the best.
Well, that's what everybody knows.
Well,
right?
they have. That's what they have, right?
Yeah, and if they got a business that's doing relatively well, then that's where you go. Now the banks sometimes say, you know what, you don't have the right credit score, or you don't fit our box. So then, sorry, we cannot extend you credit, right? Or we've already extended you credit, we cannot extend you anymore. So then what we come in is, we look at their financials, we look at the health of the business, we also look at the health of the directors, right? That's a key issue as well, because we have access to, yes, the big five banks, which are the key, better terms, better rates, but when they don't fit in that square box, then we go to the private lending side, right? So we have over 11 private lenders that we've vetted, because what happens is the private lending industry, it can be, it's all over the place. It's not very regulated. It's like you and I, put together a few $1,000s. And you're like, let's go and lend out our money at 40%, right? Let's go. Let's just do it, right? Wow. So there is that.
And people do that a lot.
Oh, yeah, very much so. But if you and I were doing that, we would be very careful where we invest our money. We want our money back with 40% return, right? Or 30%. So the reason they're high rates is because they're higher risk. The reality is they're going to that side because the banks, the good terms, the good rates were not available to them, right? So what we did is we went in and said, okay, how do we filter this? How do we come up with the right, the healthy lenders that don't have any hidden fees? Because a lot of times what would happen is, once you're in, how do you get out of this thing? And I talked about this the other day at our meeting there, and it's like, it's about healthy and the proper lending, not just about getting financing, right? And what happens is a lot of times we, as business owners, can be in a pinch, like, just give me money, I don't care. If it's going to be short term, but then once we get it, well, looks, I said everything takes twice as long and costs twice as much. That's exactly what happens. So now they're into this thing which they can't get out of, and now they're just paying interest, and the lenders are just like, thank you so much at 40%, 30%. I'm loving this, right? So we are careful not to do that. And I talked about, really discussing the clear path of an exit strategy. So that means once you get a loan,
I like that.
The term is going to be clear. It's going to be either 12 months. We do short-term loans on the private lending side, because the reality is lenders want to get their money back as soon as possible with the right return. We do anything from 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, 12 months, up to 18 months is probably as high as we'll go. But we do work with like the BDC as well, and the big banks. So we really look at the case on a per case scenario, and we try to find and design a solution, a financing solution for the client that's going to fit their needs the best, always looking for the best rates and the best terms. Always, that's a key thing.
This is like a social service. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, because you're actually moving the economy, right? So we are basically, in BC, I think is 90% is small business. Do you have a amount, like a number that will tell me, oh, don't be crazy? Just for example, let's say I can do, I can be like a chiropractor, or I can work in robotics. Yeah, that's different extreme.
Or a web designer.
Yeah, that's right. But like, how much is too much, right? So, what, for example, if I want to do like 6 month like loan, and I no, just going crazy, just so like we have like extremes. Like, oh, Pablo, I would like to have $2 million, like for this project. Like I'm gonna put like people together. Like it's like AI and robotics, and we're gonna serve like French fries at your door, like frying, like I don't know, crazy projects. Just so people understand that what is crazy, what is not.
Sure, that's a great question. We do get quite a bit of inquiries on startups. We consider that a startup company that has a great idea. They believe in it. They think they're going to go make, change the world. They're going to be the next Steve Jobs. What happens there is, number one, it's going to be dependent on the person. So the person that's coming to us, do they have a track record? Have they done business before, and were they successful at that business? That's the number one criteria that we look at. So who is going to be running this business, right? Because the lenders want to invest their money in a way that they're going to get it back somehow, and they want to. The ultimate, investor's dream is you're going to get on the right project at the right time and make a lot of money on this thing. But remember, we're not venture capital, although we have access to venture capital, but we just lend debt, so it's debt capital, right? So when something like that comes to us, which is looking for just debt financing, then like I said, the key thing is who is bringing it to us. Do they have a what's the track record? Also, do they have some capital themselves to invest? Do they have some skin in the game, right? Nobody's going to land on, I want $100,000, but I'm not going to put any money into it. Well, I want you to invest some of your money because I want to make sure you make this, if it's not going to hurt you, why would I invest in you, right? For example, sometimes we do get, so that's just on the business side. The other side that we look at is what's the industry, right? Is it an industry that has been proven to work, right? For example, right, we may get somebody that's bringing a new technology from China, let's say, into Canada for trash management or water management, right? So we will look at how, what does the industry look like? Is there appetite for that industry? Is there, right? If it's something like you said, robotics, French fries, completely new, that's more of a venture capital thing, you know what I mean? We may be able to do a little bit of lending on equipment and things like that, but not so much on the actual start of the business.
I got it. So from your experience, do we have a number for you? I mean, just like an average number for usually how much you can get like from those banks? Like, is it like I don't know, like 50,000 or 100,000 or 20,000? Like.
Yeah, I mean, it goes anywhere. Like right now, we're helping finance a restaurant that just needs. It's a good question that you said, because they wanted $40,000 because they just need a little bit to float themselves over.
So 40,000, 40,000.
So 40,000, not much. We were able to get them 20,000 because their financials did not show that they could support a $40,000 loan. So we'll go as low as that. That's probably on our very, very low end. And then we go as high as $6 million, right? So so it's a big gamma, right? I would say the average for us is companies that have a revenue anywhere between $500,000 a year to $1 million, in that range. And they need, financing of, anything between 100,000, 250,000, 300,000, that area. That's our kind of
that's a good example. Awesome, Pablo.
Yeah.
I would like to do now like a top 5 on that, on what you do, and a top 5 on like right in the spot. Sorry, and a top 5 on investing. So you said some things, but just like to kind of break down. So if I'm on that, like let's say solopreneur on that, top 5 first do.
Okay, number 1 is can you afford the debt? Can you make the minimum payments? Number 1.
Okay, cool. Number 2.
Number 2 is if the answer is yes. Is it too expensive? If you say yes, I can afford those minimum payments, is it making sense? Are you able to save money? Because when I say this, I always talk about this. You are either earning interest or you're paying interest. If you're just paying interest, then you're making somebody else rich. If you're earning interest, you're making yourself rich, right?
Oh, wow, that's a good point. All right.
Right?
3
is if the answer is no, I cannot afford this, then is what do I do about it? 3 is what's the action plan?
Okay, you have to change something.
You got to change something, right? 4 is okay, I can move things around on my own, whether it's I can sell an asset, I can use my savings, RSPs, whatever it is to get rid of this debt. Then that's the number. That's the number 4 action.
Go. And to wrap up, 5.
5 is the answer is no. I cannot do any of this. Then you got to call somebody like me, like a professional, to help you.
Okay, perfect. That's on that side. Let's talk about the founding. Okay, I have the new great idea. Whatever.
Okay, so on financing, yeah.
Number 1.
Number 1 is I've got an idea. Can I get? Do I need? So my question is, do I need venture capital or can I get debt financing?
Okay. Number 2.
Number 2 is, okay, I guess the number 2 thing is, do you have a business plan that's clear of your path? I guess that would be the thing.
Number 3.
Number 3 is, okay, I need. Let's just say that's where my strength is. I need debt capital. Then how much do I need? Do I have, if it's a new business, do I have some, at least 25% of money from the founders will be needed, right?
Okay. 25%?
25%, right?
Okay.
So it's $100,000. You need to come up with $25,000 of your own money, okay?
Great.
Do you have this?
Awesome. Number 4.
Number 4 is then you've got a business plan, you've got a down payment, so you've got some skin in the game, 25%. Then you need to now see which lenders, who's going to, where do you go? Who's going to give you the money? So do you start with the banks? Do you go with private lenders? You need to know where to go.
That's where you went in. Number 5.
Did you say, let's go to the example, $100,000, I have $25,000, now I'm going to look for 75, to finance, right? And so then is what's the right, what is the right mix, right? What's going to be the best terms? What's going to be the best rates? And then, that's where we can help.
That's awesome, man. Anything like you want to wrap up with something? Like I want you to share your website. So your website is UNITI Founding.com.
Yes, correct.
UNITIFounding.com. And Pablo Leites. Anything else you want to share?
The thing that I just keep mentioning all the time is, if you're going into business, if you're getting credit, just make sure you are smart about it. Think, be conservative, and always think of the rule of double the time, double the amount.
Awesome, Pablo. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much, buddy.
That's it for this week. See you next episode of One Man Business Podcast. Cheers and love.